I think we're ready.
Morning. I'll call the Land Use and Information Committee meeting for July 6th to order. Notice has been posted in accordance with Wisconsin Statute 19.84 Open Meeting Law. Next on the agenda is general public comments. You'll have 3 minutes. And we're ready to go. The first one on general comments is Norman Peterson. You on, Norman? Norman Peterson, are you on? Norman, are you on?
Hello.
Go ahead, Norman.
Anybody home?
Go ahead. Norman Peterson, can you give us your comments, please? Go ahead, Norman.
Great. Do you want me to read my piece now?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is addressed to the Burnett County Board. I am confused about a recent subject dealing with our township that's become before your board. The subject is declaring our township as a, quote, sacrifice zone, unquote, for the proposed hog CAFO. I would assume this means our totally inappropriate location for this factory will have air, water, and biological pollution that cannot or will not be mitigated by the prospective developers. Sacrifice zones are usually done in remote areas in this country or near poverty housing populated by people that have no political accounts to draw upon. Refineries, chemical plants, the various polluting industries with influential hooks. These are the big boys that count on their industries and factories getting the go-ahead from local legislators. My confusion is the word sacrifice. When I was in the military, it was more worded as collateral damage or a loss of our men to obtain an objective. Certainly a fireman or policeman putting their lives on the line to save lives. Sacrifice the township for whom? Who are we expected to sacrifice for? The developers that will run this pork factory, or perhaps the local farmer? It'll save a ton of money for the privilege of inexpensive fertilizer. Of course, there is the Chinese company Smithfield, which will have more pork for their people. My guess would be the money for the county feed salesman and our local big farm family that's farmed here for decades. After all, we owe them a great debt for being pretty good neighbors for decades. They even used to run the township board, but somehow the residents, workers, lake homeowners, farmers, and business owners don't see it that way. It's very revealing to count the no hog factory signs in the area. Indeed, sacrifice for whom? Running in front of a speeding car to save a child is a sacrifice. This rezoning attempt is a travesty and a betrayal of us, the people who live here. Thank you, Norman Peterson.
Thank you, Norman. Next, we have Christy Allen. Are you on, Christy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead.
So I'm Christy Allen. I'm from Anderson Township. I'm a beekeeper that just built a new honey house on my property. And the map that is describing the areas for sacrifice zones or exclusive ag includes my property. And I would not be able to produce honey without clean water. I'm also the president of the Wisconsin Farmers Union chapter of Pope Burnett. And many of our members who are farming would also not be able to produce produce and provide clean water to their livestock. So we're really concerned about the area becoming a sacrifice zone and the implications it has for our ability to farm and provide local direct products to our customers. Thank you for your time, and please don't sacrifice us to a factory and a corporation that has no roots here.
Thank you, Christy. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda order.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda order.
Motion by Ted,
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Next is the approval of the minutes from the June 1st, 2021 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Mr. Blumberg, second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, I'll start off with having Jason read the public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, July 6, 2021, at 9 a.m. at the Burnett County Government Center, Room 165, Town of Meaden, Severn, Wisconsin, regarding the following Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Conditional use permit, CUP 2116 Schmidt. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Daniels, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Julie Schmidt has made application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow a camper year-round for up to 3 years located on Mud Hen Lake at 23936 Camp Drive in the RR1 zoning district, part of Lot 2, CSM Volume 1, page 27, Section 17, Town 38 North, Range 17 West. Conditional use permit, CUP 2117 Taylor. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Meaden, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Thomas and Julia Taylor have made application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow a camper year-round for up to 3 years, located on an unnamed water body at 6675 North Bass Lake Road in the RR3 zoning district, Lot 2, CSM, Volume 27, page 19, Section 22, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. Conditional use permit, CUP 2118 Erickson Family Investments LLC. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Meaden, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Kenneth Erickson has made application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to operate storage rentals out of the existing storage container buildings consisting of no more than 39 units, and to add up to 26 storage containers to be used as storage rentals for a total of 65 storage container units, and to operate 77 storage rental units out of the 4 existing buildings, all located at 25310 State Road 35 in the C1 zoning district, lots 2, 3, and 4, CSM Volume 23, page 234, the northwest quarter, the southwest quarter, Section 28, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. Subdivision variance 2116 Henning and Shell. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Trade Lake, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Christy Henning and Donna Chell have made application for a subdivision variance for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use, Shoreline Protection, and Subdivision Code of Ordinances to create a lake parcel that doesn't meet the required minimum lot size, located on Spirit Lake at 22163 Spirit Lake Road East in the RR1 zoning district, parcel and government lot 2, Section 2, Town 37 North, Range 18 West.
Thank you, Jason. First on the public hearing is conditional use permit 21-16 Schmidt for a 3-year camper. Julie, are you on?
I am on, yes.
Please explain your application.
Well, we have a camper on that site. It's a family-owned site. My grandmother bought it in 1963. And we thought we would build after the tornado, and my parents owned it, and now my husband and I own it. And we are in a camper. We are hooked to we have holding tanks that we have pumped out routinely every other year that suits the two of us. And we are closer to the water, but we're not as close as our neighbors are. We have a tight group of 4 lots that have been in the families since the 60s. It's all the same families have owned them. And we're hoping to maintain and keep our trailer there for 3 more years. And we are in compliant with the holding tanks, and we hope to stay where we're at on Mud Hen Lake.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Does any of the committee members wish to have explanation on the application? If not, I'll open the public hearing. We do not have any in-calls. Do we have any letters?
No correspondence.
Do. We have no correspondence or no public comments. I'll close the public hearing at this time. Committee. Any questions?
One thing I'd like to point out, is Supervisor Conroy got how to do it, retro. We noted in the staff report that the camper is less than 75 feet from the lake. The applicant has, she's matched that fact with her neighbors. That isn't provided. You know, you have to meet the 75-foot setback. There isn't averaging for the camper, so that is a issue that ought to be corrected. They have a septic, a holding tank. Probably their flow rate is such that they don't have to pump it very often, but holding tank pumping is supposed to be reported by the pumper. So I think there was a mention of that too, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So,
Should be connected to the sanitary.
yeah, I guess that would be a question. It ought to be properly connected. They must be pumping in with a like they do in a dump station or something. So, yeah, that's the only issues. I think that those conditions that are in the staff report would be appropriate. We can't approve it at less than 75 feet.
Any other members? And this is only for a 3-year period with no guarantee that it would be reapproved 3 years from now. Jason, how far would they have to move the camper in order to be in compliance?
Looks like about 25 feet back
Towards the road.
towards the road.
And I should add that also would be applicable to the dwelling when they seek a permit, unless they would ask for a variance from that setback, correct?
Well, there is a provision that allows setback averaging for principal structures. So when they go to build a dwelling, they might be able to get closer to the lake if they meet those requirements.
I wasn't clear on that.
What do you mean the averaging, Jason, of the other
Yep,
permanent structures in the
Each
area?
structure next to you has to be less than 75 feet and had to been permitted, built legally and all those different requirements.
It's more of a matching setback, not so much an averaging.
It's average. Yep,
Trying to remember, there's so many variations over the years.
yep.
So they may have to get a variance before.
No, they don't need a variance for the final dwelling, but we don't provide for matching for the camper.
Correct.
Okay. I go for there.
The temporary residence.
Like the camper is intended to be temporary and movable, so it should not be a great hardship.
Julie, do you have any comments on the question?
Well, the location of the campers is totally in line with the holding tanks. If we were to go back 25 feet, I don't know what do you get, a lift? Or how do you, our holding tanks we couldn't hook our sewer line from the campers. How do you get it uphill? I want to know. We've complied with the shoreline restoration, and we have a beautiful lot, that we've maintained, and
Where is the holding tank? It's not towards.
Exactly south of the camper.
Towards the lake?
Nope, it's towards the neighbor, it's south, basically in line with the south end of the camper,
If you're moving back, are you going uphill or downhill?
going downhill.
Moving back would be going downhill, yep.
The same problem's gonna exist for the house.
Well, unless.
No, there's variances. We haven't dealt with that yet. Maybe we can do a setback compatible with the neighbors.
Yeah, I'm not measuring on a photo, but the neighboring houses appear to be really close.
Yeah, so, looks like,
They're all closer.
it looks like each
Okay.
neighbor's, the south neighbor is approximately 15 feet from the ordinary high. The north neighbor to their actual building is about 30 to 35 feet. So what you, with setback averaging, you can't go any less than 35. You average the two,
Mhm.
but you can't go any closer than 35.
That's what I'm getting at is it can be cured by, when you build, by elevating and some filling around the structure. And maybe floodplain's not an issue here.
No.
Well, you know, and it's a kind of a conundrum because the holding tank one would hope would have been sited properly for the house in the future. And it doesn't look like it really was thought too much about, but, that, I guess that doesn't matter. I don't know if we can get that release to that provision. We could,
Pearson, wouldn't that be a Board of Adjustment thing, if
it
they
would,
want to have a variance from the norm that, you know, that isn't written in the ordinance anymore?
right, I guess I would just say that they need to bring it into compliance, and if that involved a variance, so be it.
But that's for a new dwelling, not for the camper.
So the dwelling, I think, it'd be okay if our ordinance just doesn't give us authority to reduce the setback for a camper.
Correct.
That's what we're struggling. So I would probably recommend we use that. We could have, I have no issue with not approving this for 3 years, but that they need to figure out a way to get the camper into compliance. We apply for a variance because for 3 years, because the gravity, law of gravity can't be repealed in this case.
It is weird that they put the holding tanks on the high spot, because that's the high spot there of the lot. Would have thought they would have put the holding tanks further to the west, and they could have gravitied out of the house, future house, to the
I'm going to
home.
predict they were afraid to dig in their separate water perhaps. And
Maybe.
it's hard to sink a tank very deep in water. But yeah, I agree. It's just one of those kind of wacky things, but we have to stay within our rules as we have them, so.
They able to apply for variance for them?
You can apply for a variance for anything,
Oh.
so whether or not it would be granted would be a different question, but.
We could even say we don't oppose COA approving a 3-year allowance to leave it there until they're ready to build, but that's something we would have to, we don't have the ability to give that authority.
Julie, what's the intention of the family for building a structure?
Well, we always thought we'd have it built by now. Just light setbacks, I guess, that just haven't been able to, we plan to build.
What would we think if they came in and applied for a use permit for the future dwelling? And we could say it could stay there until the dwelling.
I think that would be reasonable, probably.
Okay, that would be cheaper than applying for a variance. It would be money well spent.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this request, subject to the staff recommendations, 1 through 5, with the caveat that if they apply for a land use permit for their dwelling, we will allow the camper to remain while the process of the dwelling is being constructed. For a 3-year limit, of course. That would mean, because you need to keep the camper out of the way, figure out where the house is gonna go, get all that ready, and then when you start building, the camper would have to be relocated anyway at that.
I have a motion by Mr. Conroy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Pearson.
I have just one question. I need some clarification. If they get a permit to build, but then they don't build, let's say in 3 years, or isn't there a limit on once a condition is issued?
Well, this conditional use permit would be only for 3 years, would be the camper allowance. So even, I guess, if they hold a land use permit and never build, I mean, at the end of 3 years, this would expire anyhow.
And I think what I would say, if they don't get started on it within a year, they could renew the land use permit.
Yep.
And maintain the land use permit as an active permit.
Yep.
And that way we can kind of say, well, this is clearly temporary while the permit is in process.
Yep.
And I'm trying to not make it any more burdensome for them than we have to.
That's what I was trying to get at. With that land use permit, there's a termination.
Yeah, but then they can apply for a 1-year extension as well. So.
That would get it, that would mean in 2 years, we're essentially making it 2 years.
Yeah.
Doing it this way,
And I'm looking at it as a kind of a good faith aspect. Where you talked about if you want to build, we agree, and we can allow this to remain while you're building, but you need a permit to prove that, kind of, that you're going to build. And we all know things can happen, but within the realm of expectations, I think it's fairest thing we can do.
Supervisor Payton, does approving it that way, does that affect the dates that are on there that we're approving? No, it does not.
Any other questions?
President, this would serve more than like a construction trailer, basically, is what it'll end up being in theory. And it can be there until they build a house.
Those other things that we want, the blocks and chains are part of the house code. They should be handy for the pumper not to have to unlock it each time, but they need to be chained and locked. And they need to connect it with proper sanitary connection. And we're recognizing that in order to not have to go uphill, so let it be where it is to connect. But that's a temporary connection too, as well, getting ready to build. And at some point, it's going to require moving the camper anyway. So this will allow that to happen at the pace of building.
Julie, do you understand the motion that was made?
Somewhat. We are hooked. I don't understand how we are hooked to the sanitary system. I mean,
When I was out there, the hose was just laying on the ground underneath the camper.
that is that's a separate kitchen sink, I guess.
Well, it all has to be connected to the sewer system, so.
Okay, that's easy enough. Well, no problem.
Proper, according to plumbing code, that's what we're asking.
Anything else from the committee? Or Julie? If not, go ahead, Julie. Be a roll call vote. Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Payton?
Yes.
Mr. Bomberg?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Roth?
Yes.
Mr. Conroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Julie, you'll be notified by Jason on the restrictions and what you'll have to do, okay?
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to conditional use permit CUP 21 Taylor for a 3-year.
Yes, sir.
Are you on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead and explain your application.
We bought this land with the intent to build, and we've been doing so according to our finances. And we just recently got the electric and the septic in, and we've got a little more area cleared for a building site. And like I said, according to our finances. Enough, go down. Sorry, sir.
Any questions or clarifications the committee needs?
Just one. In the notice that I got, it said that there's 2 citations, and I was not aware of citations at all, nor have I been given any form of them.
Well, you were written, we sent you 2 violation letters, but whether you got them or not, I guess, is a different story.
Most citations are just violations, right?
Yeah, just violation letters were written. Yep.
Uh,
So if we were in violation, it was unbeknownst to us. Us meaning me, my wife, and I.
Well, 2 letters were sent, so I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying I didn't know.
No, we're fine, we're in the process of correcting it anyways. This is supervisor.
Okay.
What the staff has written is a camper violation, the letters dated 8/1/2019 and 4/13/2021 were because of camper within 1,000 feet of the water. And this CUP will correct that.
Supervisor Conroy, a question for the applicant. Have you had any soil work done, or are you working on a?
They just put in a sewer system.
Oh, never mind.
Yep.
So you've got the single biggest concern I have taken care of. See,
If there's no other questions, I'll open the public hearing.
Not for me, sir. I'm good.
Have we received any?
No correspondence, nope.
Nothing to the town? Nope. Okay. If not, I will close the public hearing at this time, and we will proceed with it. Is there any committee that would wish to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve this 3-year permit, and that he follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements. I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Pearson, second by Mr. Peden. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
So does that include .1 also of the recommendation camping unit to be connected to the sanitary system by 7/10/2021?
I think he must have.
It wasn't connected when I was out there. He put a sewer in, but it wasn't.
Okay, then also add that it be connected to the new sewer.
Roll call vote, Mr. Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. Peden.
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Roth.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
yes,
Mr. Bickford, yes. You will be notified by the land use office by letter. Thank you. Next, we have a conditional use permit, CUP 21-18, Erickson Family Investment. Are you on, Ken?
Actually, Ken isn't. You guys get me again. This is Maria.
Maria, go ahead and explain it.
Okay, so I'm here once again to get our property into compliance and to get a permanent cup in place of the current one that's expiring August 1st, I believe, for the storage unit facility, which includes multiple buildings. The property has been owned and operated with multiple businesses, which have seen much growth over the years, and lack of zoning in Meenan Township has allowed overlooking certain issues. So we've been trying to get into compliance over the past year, I suppose, and I think we've demonstrated that we're trying to do so. As far as violations go on the staff report, I just want to address some of those. Most of them have been taken care of. If you had any concerns about them, the sanitary system has been pumped as of last week. There are no more signs in the road right-of-way. The e-cig store sign that's actually new to us. We didn't know that was a violation. It's the first time that it's been brought to our attention. I do have a question about the carport structure that is sitting on the south side of our property. That's actually not owned by us. That's a display because we sell those buildings. I don't know if that's something that we need to obtain a permit for or what, since I guess it's essentially inventory. Let's see what else here. The staff concerns, the salvage area, it has been taken care of somewhat. The person we have scrapping the vehicles and whatnot has had some pretty serious health issues, and he has been in contact with Ken regarding those additional items that he's coming to take care of. I guess, we operate a used car lot, as you all know, and those aren't salvage vehicles that we don't sell. We don't have a salvage yard. We hold on to trades and whatnot that we get that obviously aren't fit for sale, and we wait until scrap prices come up, and then we sell them. So the debris in the back, that we own an outdoor services company that does bring yard cleanups. We do have a debris pile back there, mainly yard debris is what it is. Sometimes we have had issues in the past. That gate is usually locked back there, keeping those scrap cars and that stuff well hidden, and also out of other people's I guess their view and their access. So sometimes we have had people go back there and throw things in there that we were not aware of. Let's see, what else? I also want to mention we've inherited some of these issues, and we are working on getting them taken care of. So I think that's about all I had. If you guys had other questions, feel free to ask.
Any members have any questions or want clarification?
I'm still reading.
Any clarification?
I'm looking at, on the Supervisor Conroy, looking at the salvage on site. I'd like a little better handle on that is, if Maria can address that.
I'm sorry, Craig, you cut out. What was you were a better handle on what?
I'm wondering, we're looking at clarifying what the salvage or scrap material on the site is. And,
it's vehicles.
But I thought you were talking about some other stuff from the yard cleanup.
Grass clippings or leaves.
And so, what do you do with
sticks, branches, trees?
Where does that go after you store it there? Are you gonna hold it?
We burn it,
Okay, on the site?
yes.
Just try to get a handle on what it was and the extent of it.
Yep.
Any other questions or clarifications from any of the committee members?
Supervisor Anderson, how often do you remove those unusable vehicles?
Honestly, I can't answer that question. I know we've done it several times in the past, or a couple of times in the past several of years. It again, just he waits till scrap prices go up, and then he sells it.
Maria, when the prices go up on the vehicle salvage, do they crush them at the site or do they haul away?
I think he's done both.
Do they need a permit for crushing?
If I recall, yeah.
So the thing you worry
The
about,
last time I think he just hauled them away.
Go ahead, Mr. Conlon.
Supervisor Conrad, the concern you have with crushing on site is fluids escaping. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be happier to see you haul them away and let the guy who crushes them be responsible for that. Probably
Yep.
in your own interest, probably, for not accidentally
Sure.
the contamination.
Gotcha.
And again, you don't.
I know most recently he hauled them away.
I know you don't probably have a whole ton like a review or salvage yard, but the point still is, transmission fluid and antifreeze and oil,
Mm-hmm.
gas, fuel, whatever. If that's escaping, even in small amounts over time, it could become a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or clarifications?
Pearson here, now I see a comment by Jason that he would like to have this postponed until issues are taken care of. In your comments?
Yeah. That's my opinion. You guys can take it or leave it.
There's no other clarifications. I'll open the public hearing at this time. We have not received any letters,
No correspondence.
nothing from the town.
Nope.
If not, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Someone just make a motion.
Well, I go further on Jason's comment. Is there a particular thing that you'd like to see resolved in a fairly short period of time?
Well, I guess it's more of the salvage and the debris stuff because, and like Maria even said, there's stuff in those debris piles that isn't necessarily debris that should be burned. And I don't know how you get a handle on that. Or do you set a max number of scrap vehicles that can be on the site, or something, so it doesn't get out of hand like in that 2018 or aerial photo?
Supervisor Conrad, I'm thinking, I don't want to just postpone this without an objective list and a date certain that we bring it back up. I'm thinking maybe we could ask Maria and Kenny to write up what you do more precisely. Give us some numbers of the maximum number of salvage cars, of some composition of debris that's organic, and a method of policing it to keep people from putting stuff you didn't put there in there, just to get
Right.
Bring that back to us next month. And we'll continue this. We can continue this hearing until then, just so we all understand what we're doing. I think we appreciate that you've got most of it ready to go. And if we can solve these last unanswered questions, we could all be happy with the outcome, I think. Is that
Sure.
acceptable?
And I guess I understand I understand we're operating as one big facility here with multiple businesses. And this, I guess, what would you like to see as far as those vehicles go? Is there I think as long as we're making progress and we've got them out of sight, I mean, I don't know that anybody even sees them. I don't know what Mr. Warwith what his health status is at this time, or when he plans on coming back here. So, I guess that is something we can speak with him about.
I get that, but at the same time, an open-ended, we don't know, and it'll just keep accumulating, is probably not a good answer, right? I think if he can't come back, if nothing happens to him so that he's not in business, you'll have to seek someone else to do the same thing.
Oh, I think he's still in business.
Well, okay, but he won't be forever, probably. So, you know what I mean? I think we need to get a little bit of a handle on that, because if it just keeps accumulating, then it becomes a point of now you can't get rid of them because there's too many or it's not economic.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like managing the herd, from an overpopulation point of view. So I think I'd like to get a little bit more defined answer before we proceed on that.
And I guess I would like to know what you guys are thinking. I'm not aware of the laws or any ordinances or anything that oversees that. I don't know what we should base it off of.
I'm going to throw out a guess here and just say that at some point we would probably be looking at, you need a permit for a salvage yard. That's a whole nother can of worms to open if we would look at doing that.
Yep.
That's the neighbors off. They don't want to see that happen. And historically, salvage yards have become, uncontainable almost. There's no market. They keep it really. I think that's.
No, I mean, I know that my word is only as good as whatever you believe it to be, but I can assure you that we are not going to continually accumulate vehicles until it gets out of control. I mean, we're proud of what we have, and we were born and raised in Burnett County, and we're not going to allow that to happen.
So
I understand your concern.
I believe you that you're not going to, and I think it's a reasonable question to have an answer to before we proceed.
I understand.
And I'll just make one comment, I guess, for a reason why I asked to have it be postponed. It's a little bit frustrating, I think, on my end when some of these items were mentioned a year ago, and there's just like the pumping septic tank was just pumped last week. Well, that was in
that was overlooked.
Okay.
Honestly.
And signs in the road right away, that's been an issue before that I've pointed out, and that just got corrected last week as well.
Yeah, and that's something that's easily corrected. That's not, I think that's sort of grasping at straws a bit.
Okay.
Well, then again, you guys have got a lot going on. I get that too, but at the same time, if we could get these last I's dotted and last T's crossed by next month, I think we could proceed. And again, you've got a lot done, a few more things to resolve. So with that, I'd make a motion to postpone for a month with Annie and Maria addressing the questions we've discussed about salvage vehicles and woody debris and that kind of thing. And just give us a little bit of a assessment of what you're going to do and how you're going to manage it so we can add that to the permit. I think it would be done.
Okay. No problem.
Also, Mr. Krause is talking. I don't know if Mark is on or not.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Did you have anything to add, Mark?
No, the certified survey map is ready to go whenever needed. And we have, those things taken care of, I believe, and Jason's already reviewed that preliminary, so I don't think there's any issues on that end of it, completing that when things are granted.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. We have a motion by Mr. Conroy to postpone for a month. there a second?
I'll second it, but I need a little bit of clarification on exactly what we're asking them to provide.
We're asking them to provide, and Maria, you're still in place. We're asking them to provide some, address the issues that are unknown about salvage vehicles and woody debris and other stuff that's unaccounted for, and give us a management plan for those things. How many vehicles, how much accumulation of stuff are you gonna be having there? Because it's open-ended right now. We would approve it without that. We have unresolved issues, some of which may affect them. And I'd like to see them, if it's workable, to say, we have no intention of crushing cars on site, just storing them and then removing them. Crushing concerns me a little bit too. I'm leaving that up to them to come back with a plan, to give us next month.
We have a motion, is there a second? Second by Mr. Ah.
Mr. Chairman, would this be a continuation then of today's public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
Continue this process, not a tabling, but just a continuation to complete it at the August meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Payton?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg? Yes. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Ah? Yes. Mr. Conroy?
Yes.
Mr. Pickford, yes. Did you understand the motion, Maria? What they really,
Yes.
just some, documentation of what you planning on doing with the salvage cars. Shouldn't say salvage cars. Old used cars.
Mhm.
Unsaleable used cars, whatever we want to classify them as. And clearly, you're not doing a salvage yard. We're not saying you are.
Right.
Has been approved. Does that meet your approval, Maria?
Yes. Yep.
We'll see you next month, or we'll hear from you next month then. Thank you.
See you next.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, next. We have,
Hello?
hello.
Hello?
Variance 2116, Henning and Chell. Are you on the phone, please?
I am. Good morning. This is Donna Chell, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak about this issue. We have a 44-acre Century Farm. My sister and I own this, and what we are seeking a variance for is the lakeshore portion of this property lies across a town road from the rest of the property. It's our wish to split this off from the rest in order to place it in a trust for our children and grandchildren.
Excuse me, Donna, you got
We understand.
that background in you. Hard to understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there is background noise.
Donna, do you have are you on your cell phone?
I am.
Do you have it on speaker?
I do not. Should I?
No, actually, I thought that causes that sometimes.
Okay, keep on going.
Yeah. Well, can you hear now? Is it better?
Yes.
A little better.
Okay. So that's really all I'm requesting is this variance to split the 0.83 acres that's across the road from the rest of the property off to preserve it for our kids and grandchildren so that it, will always remain in the family and be undeveloped. And do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions or clarification? If not, I'll open the public hearing. We've had a couple of letters.
Yeah, you got those letters that are already in your packet. And we got a train coming through. So those letters, were from, neighbors. That was from a Lundberg and, Long. No other correspondence besides what you have back there.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Public speaker.
Oh, do we? Oh, okay, we do have, sorry. We have Nicole Haffer.
Morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm on. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for the chance to speak. Just wanted to share that there's been support by the neighbors for the split of this variance. I believe that's the letters that you have in your packet. Also, there is the desire for my husband and I, Don Chell, to purchase 10 to 20 acres of parcel to the north of the road. And that in doing so, we'd be building and putting in a new septic system there. And we've already had a perk test. So just want to acknowledge that that recommendation will be fulfilled by a completely new septic system. And it appears to be a mound system that we'll be putting in, likely within the next year. So wanted to share that. Any questions?
I guess I'll open the public hearing at this time. A little late for this applicant.
You just did.
She was public.
Yeah, she was public.
No further public comments.
No other public comments? We didn't really receive anything from the town?
Correct.
Okay. And I'll close the public hearing at this time.
A question from the lady who just testified. Is she a family member, I assume?
Oh, are you a family?
Yes, I'm the daughter-in-law of Donna Chell.
Okay, just making sure that you would be one of the beneficiaries of this use of this parcel. Yeah.
Correct, yes. My husband would be. Mm-hmm.
Well, you too probably, right?
The LLC that would be formed is likely to be my husband and his siblings and Chris Henning's children.
Question I have, we also had one or two other maps on there. What is the purpose of these maps?
Those maps were splits that they could do without having to get a variance. They'd have to attach land across the road. Those were different options that I told them they could create a parcel without having to go through a variance.
Then they would be sufficient size that they wouldn't need a variance.
Correct.
Any other questions, Mr. Robb?
It seems like a chicken and egg thing to me. It's like which comes first. Normally, variances are done by the Board of Adjustment.
Subdivision variances are not.
We have full authority.
Correct. Yep. We just do them so infrequently. I don't think this committee remembers. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since we've had one.
This Supervisor Conroy, this came up quite a long time ago, but this was deemed an inappropriate variance for a Board of Adjustment to hear because the hardship standard is based on typically on county subdivision ordinances. This particular parcel, were it not for our 10,000 square feet of required developable area, wouldn't need a variance to create.
Right.
Okay. And so what is the hardship from a BOA point of view? It had more to do with the subdivision. Almost a better word would be waiver, but than variance in a way.
But we I believe it said we're essentially creating an unbuildable lot.
Correct.
Correct. Do we have it seems like that goes counter to what we're here for? When we're here to obey the laws, and there's a possibility to conform with the law, why should we grant the variance?
Well, raise an opinion, not mine, the Attorney General from 44 years ago, that would hold that this is already a separate parcel because it's divided by a public road. And so you're mapping arguably an existing parcel. We really didn't want to follow that opinion very diligently in counties because we didn't want to create a bunch of little unbuildable lots that could be conveyed and used for lake access without limit, which is why we created a language that still is in our ordinance, only disappeared in the codification, but it never was repealed, right, Jason?
Correct.
Now, we allow a lot kind of like this to be created for up to 4 backlots for access.
The keyhole.
Keyhole, yeah, but we cap it. But, so that mitigates that concern about this being a shared by the family parcel, but, you know, I would say we would want to point out that we would only allow up to 4 backlot dwellings to use it for lake access, you know.
And that would be fine with us?
Anyway, my point is you can kind of make the argument that it's sort of a separate parcel already that's being mapped, recorded, deemed an outlot, so it's unbuildable, but it does in fact have a little area that meets the setback, so a small shed or a privy or something could be put on it, porta potty, whatever they have, and meet setbacks. So it isn't going to create non-conforming setbacks, but it is a parcel that would otherwise possibly seek a variance to build on at reduced setbacks from Lake and Road. And the hardship argument would be that they've owned it forever, the road created the problem, the split, they pay taxes on it, all those things that grounds to grant a building site on the setback. So I think I can kind of sympathize with what they want to do for that reason.
But I understand why they want to do it. I'm just trying to figure out the whole legalities of, and to say that the road essentially creates a lot. In my mind, a lot isn't a lot until it's defined as a lot, and this is not defined yet.
Right.
It's part of a large parcel, but it's still part of that larger parcel.
So the context of that the Attorney General's opinion was that if you had a government lot, 40 acres, water on each side and road passing through the middle, you didn't have to do a state plat to do 8 lots. You could do a CSM on each side because each one was in a separate parcel. That was the ramifications of that decision. So that was regulatorily, but the the point of it was that he held that, in his opinion, that a public road or a navigable water body creates 2 parcels, not 1 parcel, by just virtue of it being there. Now it's kind of wacky.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think it's, and I think I understand what he's trying to imply, but I don't think how you're explaining it is correct.
So I just said, it was an opinion anyway, that's that. And we ignored that opinion, that's why we're doing this.
And so then, again, it gets back to, do we have the authority to go against our own ordinances?
But we're not creating a lot, we're creating an outlot. That's a difference in the meaning too. An outlot is deemed an unbuildable parcel.
Correct.
And sometimes I've seen it done to put a little telephone service box or something, little 100 by 100 foot thing for other reasons.
Okay. Question I have for you, Jason. If granted the variance for this small parcel, could it be in the future attached to a larger parcel?
Well, that's what it is right now. It's attached to a larger parcel.
One to the east or west, essentially. Is that what you're saying now?
What's that?
Rather than being attached to that line.
Yeah.
attaching it to either east or west if someone wants to buy it.
Yeah, you could attach it. I think the variance condition, though, if it's deemed unbuildable, I don't believe that would go away.
What about one that was next to it, along the lake?
Well, it could be attached to another parcel, but we still have an ordinance that says we only allow one dwelling per parcel, so they wouldn't be able to put another dwelling on it.
It would alter your setbacks probably, and that's about it.
Yeah. I don't see a way to get around trying to get a second dwelling on here by selling it to a neighbor or something like that.
I suppose the only thing is, if they change their mind in the future and wanted to reattach it to the back, you could do a superseding certified survey map perhaps.
Yeah.
That would have to go through the process of review and approval and.
Yeah, I mean, if they came in and tried to do a CSM like number one, that's shown in their map, I would likely approve that in the future, because that would be adding more land to that parcel, so it would now be conforming, and they would still be limited to only having one dwelling on that parcel. But, you know, if they sold it to the person that owns 22168, and that person wanted to put a second cabin over there, that wouldn't be allowed.
But it sounds like if you looked at your number one sketch, and colored parcels south of the road green, and left the other one red, that would be similar to what we learned is being proposed.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be a family member would own a lot across the road from it, and the existing outlot would be held in trust for the rest of the family as well as that person. You don't share an interest in it. Yep. So, and that's a lot like what we would probably add a condition that that's fine, but no more than 4 back lots can use this as lake access. Yep. And that would be the way we would condition it. And we wouldn't do the option 2 one at all.
See, what you're kind of looking at here is, I think, when you are thinking about the variance, you're kind of trying to decide, okay, because right now, if they did option 1, they could build a house on the lake side over on that very east side. Because they have 1,500 square feet of buildable area on the portion of the lot south of the road. So if they did option 1, they could put a cabin over there south of the road. So I think when you're kind of looking at this variance, you're going, okay, is there some benefit to the public by having that lot be non-buildable? There won't ever be a house there, but we're going to cut them a break on the area, the requirement for it. I mean, that's kind of what a variance is. You're looking at, on a case-by-case basis, does this unique situation make sense?
Supervisor Conroy, and then in the same light, we're recognizing that this meets every requirement of our quote marked keyholing lot other than the 10,000 square feet of buildable area.
Mm-hmm.
But it meets the area requirement, it way exceeds the frontage minimum. We would allow as small as 150 feet of frontage.
Yep.
So it is a way to protect the stretch of shoreline from a dwelling being on it and still allow use by the family members. That's the way I see it.
I don't believe I've closed the public hearing yet, so there's no other comments. I'll close the public hearing.
May I comment?
Pardon me?
May I have a comment? May I comment? This is Donna Chell again.
Go ahead.
You know, the reason we want to do this is to keep it undeveloped. We don't want to put a cabin on it. We only want it to be an outlot. The people that have used the beach at Spirit Lake and have good memories of that beach, we just want to keep it like that forever. I mean, it answers your scenic beauty. It answers, you know, your fish and wildlife, there's increasingly few open places on a lake. Why can't this be one? That's my comment. LLC. Hello, and may I comment?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, well, this is Christy Henning, the other owner of the property, and I don't know if it was made clear, but what we want to do is form an LLC on this property for my children and Donna's children, and not attach it to the property across the road. We don't, like we said, we don't want to have a buildable lot. We just want to leave it open. The shed that's on there right now is portable. It's on skids, and the porta potty, all those are both portable, and we're willing to move them, back away from the lake if that is what you are requiring. The shoreline buffer, I'd like to address that a little bit too for the board members maybe who haven't seen it. The majority of this whole area that we have down there is already not mowed. The only portion that's, up to the lake. The only portion that's mowed up to the lake is like maybe 10 or 12 feet right around the dock. So the rest does have trees and shrubs and is not developed. So we are trying to, keep that the way it is.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? If not, is there a motion on this CUP?
No, variance.
What?
Motion on the variance.
Or variance? Okay. Motion on the variance.
Supervisor Conroy, I'll make a motion to approve the variance, create the outlot, subject to the condition that ownership, however they want to do that, is not of concern, but that it cannot be used as a lake access for more than 4 backlots. Up to 4 backlots can be created that could have a deeded interest in it, but no more than that.
I have a motion by Mr. Conroy. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, would that include the 7 staff recommendations as well?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Yes, it would.
You want me to read them?
Jason and I talked about this earlier. I think we believe, based on our backlot thing, that would allow 1 accessory shed that has to meet setbacks from road and lake. There's room to do that. Did we decide if there was a maximum size on that shed or not?
I think as long as it meets the setbacks and impervious surface limits.
It doesn't have to be 10 by 10. It can be a little bigger.
Yep.
But it's an accessory building only stipulation, cannot be a dwelling.
Not a bunkhouse. Correct.
That's the parcel to remain vacant, no building, camper sheds, et cetera. There was 1 pier allowed of up to 6 foot. That's based on frontage allocation.
Right.
Section 30 stats. Shoreline buffer is to be extended to 35 feet. The existing shed and portable toilet are to provide to compliance, put it that way. DSM to be completed and all other requirements.
Sanitary system, is that for the?
That's for the house. It's all on 1 parcel.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second with those stipulations. Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Peden?
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg? Yeah. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Roth?
Yes.
Mr. Conroy?
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, no. Variance has been approved.
Yes.
You'll be notified by the land use office. Okay, next on the agenda, discuss chapter 30, changes related to items from the large-scale livestock study ad hoc committee.
Craig, wanna take it?
I'll take it. So, I've got a couple of opening remarks to make because it's a lot of email traffic and concern about this. Seems to be misunderstanding what we're doing today, and I want to kind of cover that. This is not a public hearing on amendments. This is a report to the committee of the recommendations of large-scale livestock committee and integrating their recommendations into the draft zoning ordinance. But this is not a ready for prime time public hearing package. This is what I did here as a subcommittee of one, kind of, was integrate them into the ordinance without making any other changes. So that what I've highlighted in yellow are things that I think need attention or are the recommendation. I decided to stop making any recommended changes, though, that weren't part of the LSLS committee's recommendations, to keep this as straightforward as possible. As we go through this, the first things we're going to look at involve manufactured home. That was not from the LSLS committee. I saw that, but this is really badly written and we should fix it. But then I stopped doing that because I didn't want to cloud the issue. So I'm going to run through these things where there are yellow fairly quickly. And one other thing I have to say on this is, this does not create a sacrifice zone. The entire county is a sacrifice zone right now. There is not a square inch of ag land in Burnett County that a CAFO could not be applied for on right now. The recommendation of the LSLS committee was that, based on council that we retained for that committee, was our A2 district is not really compatible with that scale of agriculture, and that we can legally limit animal units in A2 and A4. But under state statute 93.90, parent 3, parent 8R, we cannot prohibit or put a cap of animal units in all ag districts. We are required by state law to have at least one district where there is no cap, no ceiling on animal units. The rational place for that to be is an exclusive ag district where we already have intense agriculture. That doesn't say we can't regulate that. And so for that reason, we retain the conditional use permit process all the way up to where how many animal units. Someday we may have a public hearing on a case of over 1,000 animal units. It will be fun, gentlemen, but we will retain the ability to regulate and to ask questions about nutrient management, storage, public health and safety and welfare concerns for odor abatement, all those things. And the intention of this was to provide access to those issues. If we don't have a conditional use permit, we cannot address anything that's not listed specifically in the ordinance. However, with a conditional use permit, things that come to our attention through the process can be discussed, and we can consider and put conditions on to address those things. This is just the basic procedure that we want to integrate into the ordinance. So we'll go through and I'll explain further as we get to those things. But if you scroll on your iPad, you'll see we did not propose, LSLS did not propose changing the purpose of the exclusive ag district or any change to the lands included in the district. At permitted uses, the first thing I flagged was a discussion about manufactured homes, and we talk about more than one may be permitted if needed in help in conjunction with farm operation on county board approval. That seems a little excessive to me, and, a conditional use permit, it doesn't say conditional use, for manufactured home community is my question from the Land Use and Information Committee. I think that's clumsily written and we should fix it, but that's not an LS recommendation. We go into general farming, we talk about low setbacks for in permitted uses. I add a note at the bottom of that suggesting navigable water body, the word body to be added. Navigable water is a little vague, I thought. Feedlots and buildings housing more than 250 animal units require a conditional use permit approved by this committee. That is the case now. That's not new, but I thought it needed that advisory note. We got some notes about verifying statutory stuff. Next, page 30, 117, conditional uses. Added the words exclusive ag district. And I added number 10, that is new. The other 9 items are simply enumerated, but those items are all listed in the paragraph form as our ordinance exists today. By listing them, it makes it a little easier to review a conditional use permit. I added number 10, which was discussed there, appropriate setbacks. For facilities housing 250 more animal unit setbacks shall meet or exceed the minimum standards established in the controlling Wisconsin Administrative Code, Ag Trade and Consumer Correction 151, and such facilities are subject to application of the odor offset standards as listed in appendices to this code. But that is what we're talking about there. The EPA has an odor offset draft regulatory plan. State of Minnesota has one. NR 151 proposed adding that a few years ago and was withdrawn after pressure from the Ag League lobby. And then recently, the Nebraska Supreme Court upheld odor offset regulations pertaining to animal regulations. So what this is for is to allow us to consider this kind of thing should we have a public hearing on this. And the purpose, of course, is to require greater setbacks or additional mitigation for public health, public safety, and welfare. Conditional use permits, again, these are authorized by conditional use. This is some verification again. Conditions attached to conditional use permits, again, enumerated what we might attach. Increased setbacks in yard specifications, these are all there. Specifications for liquid waste and solid waste disposal facilities, my question, and land application rates. The blue stuff is recommendation for land and water. Animal waste disposal plans should include total quantity of waste per year, nutrient value, location, volume of applications for each spreading site. If using rented or leased land, a landowner agreement must be provided for each site. This also is reflective of the targeted nitrate standards and recommend amendment to 151 that DNR is pursuing at the moment. B is animal waste storage facilities are regulated under Chapter 18. That's the siting. We have recommended an expansion of 220 days from 180, which is the minimum, and we provide some other alternatives that, in that draft. That will not come to this committee. That will go to the Natural Resources Committee. That amendment process is underway as well. And then I added below 9, along with other similar requirements necessary, which said in the ordinance, to protect, I'm adding public health, safety, and welfare. Violation of these conditions shall constitute violation of this chapter as provided in section 3659. And we aren't changing height, yard area, access requirements, or standards for rezoning in A. That's the Ag district. We have a Division 4A1 agricultural transition district that exists in the town of Rusk and about two sections, I think. It was meant to be a transitional zone between an urban and rural interface. Town of Rusk is about as far from another urban place. It can still be in Burnett County. I don't know why it's there. The recommendation was to delete that district. It never was used the way it was intended, and it's superfluous.
What then would they be classified as?
Pardon?
In Rusk, what would they be classified as?
That's where we would recommend rezoning to either A2 or A4. Or A, if they have a reason to be zoned A. The expectation is north of 70, there's very little A, a few scattered small tracts. Predominant areas zoned agriculture are Dewey and Trade Lake. There's a few scattered parts here and there. There could be some appropriate, in Rusk too. We'll be looking at that, but those small parcels in north of 70 and Rusk would best be either A4 or A2 in our assessment. Okay, now we're in A2. Again, this is, we're going down, at, right now, presently in A2, there's no cap on animal units. I put the note as permitted in section 3, 116A exclusive ag district, the maximum 250 animal units, anything up to 500. This is more of a note. If anyone reading the ordinance, see that right away. I did it again in number 10, exception. Because we refer, by the way, back to exclusive ag for some things that are listed in general ag that we don't list in A2, but we would want to have maple syrup production and things like that. We could instead add all of those things back in our final form, but the idea there is to make it relatively easy to read. But we again put the exception that A allows, doesn't have a cap on animal units, A2 does. Additional uses, these are yellow now, but they are the same as in A. The statement of purpose of this chapter in the A2 district, need for the proposed use, availability of alternative locations, compatibility with existing and permitted uses on adjacent lands, productivity, location, so as the minimum amount of productive ag land is converted, need for public services, availability, adequate public services, and effective local units of government, all the way down to through 9 are all, were not in A2 before, but now are. From A. 10 is the same thing and refers back to the assessment of stuff in A. Because we're not discriminating against big farms or small farms. Anything that triggers a conditional use will be treated the same all the way through. Conditional use permits, again, some bookkeeping. Another short little comment about campgrounds and manufactured home parks might be amended. Number 3 is an important one. Commercial feedlots and buildings housing 250 more animal units up to a maximum of 500 animal units are a conditional use permit in A2. Then we delete any that are the same as sections 31, 17, 18, and 19 of exclusive ag because it is no longer the same as exclusive ag. 3174 conditions attached, they are the same as we referred to in A. We again would assess specs for animal waste disposal and animal storage, animal waste storage. And again, the same disclaimer, and along with whatever other requirements we need to protect public safety, health, and welfare. Then we go to Division 6A4, Ag Forestry Residential. This is what we will probably see where we have exclusive ag in the northern parts of the county. It maintains the same low density of 35 acres, minimum lot parcel size. But we cap it at 500 animal units. A lot of the land that would fall into this is zoned exclusive ag, but is half forested. It's not any real intense agriculture I'm thinking in Smith, Oakland, scattered here and there, there's some inclusive ag, but not very much altogether, a couple sections maybe. Those would be best rezoned at A4. And again, this reads the same way. This is a newer district. It had very similar to A in some of its construction. And we, again, enumerated the conditional use conditions, added 10 again with appropriate setbacks. Authorized, things that are authorized by conditional use are somewhat different in A4 than they are in A2 or A, but we left that alone. Verifying some stats, again, striking the references to inclusive ag that are the same because they're not. And again, we did not change. I jumped ahead of myself. We again added the specs, again the same assessment for animal waste disposal and storage. Again, the same protect public health, safety, and welfare as other things arise. Didn't change any of the other components of this. That, in a nutshell, is the LSLS committee recommendations applied to the current ordinance. Now, this will have to be codified, striking out old language, adding new, cleaning up a few other words and phrases that might be confusing before we take it to public hearing. But this is the nutshell of what the LSLS committee recommended. Questions? Discussion?
There's going to be some more revisions from the natural resources.
No, that'll be a separate ordinance inside.
Oh, separate, okay.
And the other thing we're trying to do is cross-reference them to the extent we can. In Wood River, Wapala, Sand Lake, Navy, and Blaine, where there is not comprehensive zoning, all the LS siting ordinance would still apply to a CAFO should one be proposed there. The question always is adequate ag land to support one, with the disposal. There are those who would argue that we can, in fact, prohibit or cap animal units in all districts. I don't know how they get around that statute that I cited. But we are regulating large trade lake. Anywhere we have ag land, if a people were to apply, we would still be scrutinizing it to the maximum extent we could, but they would be able to apply. The point is that in 82% of the county, we would say you can't apply for more than 500 animal units. That's it. And those are the most vulnerable soils generally, the highest permeability, the most mixed use sort of things. I don't disagree that those things exist in the A district as well, but following the law, we can't say, no, you can't apply. So that's the basic issue.
I have a question, and maybe I missed it somewhere in the reading. What acreage constitutes confinement? 250 to 10 acres, or?
It's something that is defined, I believe, in the administrative code, but you could have more than 250 animals if they're out in pasture, and there's a density of acres per animal in pasture. And of course, we refer to those codes.
Okay, so when you exceed the acreage per animal, then you're confined animal.
And you're allowed to have congested animals for a brief period of time while you're shipping. Use Fernando's up in in Blaine, where they're a ranch, really, but lots of acres. So when they gather the animals to ship, they might fall into a feedlot density, but if it's for a short period of time, it's okay. But it can't maintain like that. That's more of a siting ordinance issue, and they're not in comprehensive zoning, so you can be applying it. But it is for facilities, feedlots, or confined, platted floor, just buildings, that kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I understand.
So if everybody is comfortable with this after having studied it diligently, like I know you all did, what I would like is a motion to move this to develop the codified form for taking it to public hearing. Probably in August, but maybe as soon as we can. Anyway.
A motion by Craig, is there a second? Mr. Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, campground work group update.
We'll do that. You didn't even give me a break, I got him right to the meeting. Okay, we've been diligently meeting every week except for last Friday, when a mutiny was held and no one wanted to work on the 2nd of July. So, right?
I showed up.
Did you really? I'm sorry about that.
I knew better.
Anyway, hey, everybody but Supervisor chose not to attend.
So that means you and Mr. Payne.
Yep. I think we've been making really good progress. We've had some assistance from the University of Wisconsin-Cedars Point Center for Land Use Education, with some spreadsheets, looking at other county ordinances, and we've been picking through that. And we think we've heard from about everybody we could possibly listen to for issues that they could raise, facts that we could use to make our decisions. And I think we'll be in a couple more meetings ready to bring a report back to this committee next month. Agree?
Yeah.
Agree to.
We're kind of developing the document right now.
Right. And so with that in mind, the question then comes up, we aren't going to be ready to bring amendments, so before this moratorium expires. And the question is, do we want to ask the county board to give us a couple more months to complete some draft amendments to go with? I don't know that we would create an Oklahoma land rush of background requests, but we might. I don't know that. But I think it would be best if we were developing this stuff without applications pending. So I would be in favor of us asking for 3 more months. That'd be reasonable.
When does the original expire?
This month, July.
July, okay.
I was pretty much accurate on our work, getting our work done, with our work study, our study group, but not as far as getting anything implemented or brought up for public hearing, no. We won't have time for that.
Yeah, well, under the current moratorium.
Sorry.
Under the current moratorium.
Under the current moratorium. Yeah.
We're talking to October then.
Probably. Yeah. That's what I think I think by then we would have draft amendments that we were taking them to public hearing and probably adopted or not, as the case may be, but yes.
That's to get it through the county board.
Right. Right. We're not a faster moving process as I hoped it would be, but I think we were more thorough than I thought we would be as well.
So we're looking at maybe having a public hearing in October?
September or October, yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure we was asking for enough time.
Right. That's why I think 3 months would probably do it.
So the public hearing could be in September, and then the vote would be, county board vote would be October.
Would be. Again, what we would propose as amendments wouldn't be all that extensive, but it would require rewriting, creating some language, and, it wouldn't be, there are other things we might want to look at amending too, but as far as the specific to the campground moratorium, that's fairly short. We may want to look at, similarly to what we did in the ag district for conditional use formatting, so we aren't digging around for paragraph, we can enumerate things we're gonna consider, to make it clear what we're considering when we adopt the conditions. That's a little bit bigger picture thing that could trail along behind it, but I think that's something else we need to talk about. And as part of the end game.
You feel that 3 months is enough, then, Craig?
I think so. I think we're close to being done with our mission. But you know how long it'll take. If we do a public hearing in September on amendments, then it could go to the county board in October, still be, under an extended moratorium.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we,
And if we got it done first, you could cut the moratorium short, couldn't you?
Would end the moratorium if we
If we finish it.
made a recommendation and
Okay.
did that, sure. But I don't see it gaining much, a couple of weeks, maybe, but still, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we request the extension of moratorium till October
I'll
to the
second
county
that.
board.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is second.
So that would be October, the county board date in October?
No, we bring that to the July County Board to extend the moratorium to October.
So that's the end date of the new end date of this extension would be October county board meeting date.
Correct.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Craig. And thank you, Chuck, and Mr. Payne, your diligent work that you've done. Next, we have discussed format for future committee meetings. I kind of like virtual.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to be in it, or not.
I think,
Well, where is one? Grab some input, I would guess.
one thing occurs to me, I kind of like to see us go back to normal too, but if we have a public hearing that's going to be extremely high attendance, we anticipate, we want to reserve the right to do it remotely for everyone from a matter of fairness, or, in other words, if we have limited capacity, do we want to let some people in and not everybody? I'm just wondering about that.
And what I would struggle with is some of these, we notice it we don't necessarily know it's gonna be a controversial item till after we do the public hearing notice, and that's when we have to tell everyone how they're gonna participate. So then, would it seem like unfair, or, you know, a week before the meeting, we're changing it, nope, you can't show up now, you're virtual, could we even legally do that?
I don't know, that's what I wonder about, and it sounds bizarre, but because we see so much potential for appealing, if we hold a meeting and we don't have capacity, so some people are listening and participating remotely anyway, right? Or can't get here, but we've established the ability for people to participate remotely, so do we continue even if we, on the sheet.
There you
And
go.
we collect the sheet.
Okay, we're back on. All right.
Before each hearing, hand them to the chair, and then if you had a bunch of people on each side, you'd sort out pro and con and alternate pile. As you call people up, you know, shuffle the deck to make it even, not all the pro, all the con, you know,
But in all of our controversial ones, how many have been pro?
we have a big stack.
No, that's anti.
Well, we haven't had a lot of those balanced kind of hearings, you're right, but it used to be the case sometimes. But all my point is that was sort of that registering to speak ahead of time, so not everybody spoke.
Okay, we did have a little discussion in our office about, last week about how if you were to decide to have it, you know, open back up, yet still do the participation by Zoom, the public by Zoom also, that we would still, a suggestion would be to make things run, smoothly. We could still have that sign up option where we post the agenda items, regardless of if you're coming in person or if you're doing your comment by, online, that you still sign up to speak for the different agenda items in the general. In that sense, then we could still go down the list in a very organized manner and call off the persons to speak, and or if they're in public, they would come up at that time, and we could keep things running very smoothly and organized. That was just a thought we had.
But what if someone showed up that wasn't signed up?
And
They
if
wouldn't get to?
anyone shows up, we would still have that as our preference and our, way of doing things. If someone showed up that was not signed up, those persons would just be recognized at the beginning of the meeting and then added to the bottom of the list. But we would still have a better organized way of running the public speaking to be able to have both.
We'd have an idea of the volume of people we.
And we would have the idea of the volume, so we would know for setting up the meetings.
Yeah, I think if we're
So we
doing
thought that
open
would be a good.
to the public meeting, we couldn't deny them access, but they would come at the very end.
No, right, and we would still request for our procedure, to have it in that format, so that they still sign up, like you said, then we have an idea instead of guessing whether we're gonna have a humongous attendance, if we say have to move the meeting to a larger venue, and or if we'll be able to accommodate it at the government center. We're still gonna get, 3/4 of the people to sign up and use that procedure. That's what we've been doing, and they're used to that.
Can we change the meeting location though, after we've already noticed it is a public hearing?
Can we change the location?
Yeah. You just said if we had all of a sudden find out we're gonna have a large crowd, then we'd maybe move the meeting location. Well, we've already noticed it, that the meeting will be here at a certain time. Could we change the meeting location?
Well, we could, amend the agenda to the fact of where the meeting will be held. I don't think that's in a violation.
Okay, but the public hearing notice says where the meeting is gonna be held.
Right, yes, it does. I guess we'd have to check and see with, if that would be anything that would hamper your, 3-week early notice with a public hearing or not. But otherwise, of course, with the agenda notice, we could have it as the post on that. I'm not sure, we'd have to check on that for that specific piece of the public.
I'm just, because it's so hard, we have to do the public hearing so far in advance before we know if we're gonna have a large crowd or not.
Right.
That's the issue, I guess, that
I guess
I
there's a
have.
couple
My eye.
The issue always is to avoid any potential defect that would give us an issue on appeal.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
why.
right. I guess we'd have to check into that for positive to do with the actual location on your public notice, if that would, compromise anything, if indeed it was changed then with the, agenda.
I think for the
noticing.
most part, most of the time, almost all the time, what you're saying would work just fine, I think.
Right.
It might be the one wild card, but
And we could check on that and see if that's gonna make a if that would be an issue legally or not, to then just have the,
And there are some that we would probably know without saying, would simply have to be held at a big venue.
and we're gonna know, right?
Hold it that when the time comes.
Yeah, most of the ones I can guess,
Pretty good.
it's gonna be a large meeting. So,
But I guess the main part was to keep things, because with it being virtual, as we've had it, and as Norm has alluded to, it's worked very well, very smooth to have the public speaking and whatnot. And we thought if we could keep that form going out on the internet and still have persons, the most of the people, the majority will be signed up and logged in on the form. Like I said, anyone not logged in on the form, we find out right at the beginning of the meeting, put them on the bottom, and we can still stay very organized in our public speaking.
Even
Public
the
comment.
controversial ones that we've had, we haven't had any complaints that they couldn't show up there, in person. I think we had more compliments that they could do it on the phone.
Right. I have had a few emails asking when we are going to get back to public being able to attend. And I just informed them that that was on the agenda for this month to talk about. So there is some interest of the public coming back, but I thought that would be a way to maybe,
another, it's, I don't know how what we do for seating arrangements, because even if we don't have any controversial ones, if we have 8 CUPs on the agenda, I mean, that in theory is probably 16 people, if you figure maybe a couple, 2 people per CUP. How do we, do we have enough even seating capacity? Or
and I guess that depends on then if we're going to go back to, the smaller table set up without the, distancing and or there again, then we would open the lounge area and set up for public and we would have room for public again.
And it worked pretty well when we had the one high-attended meeting that we used the county boardroom for. And people came in relays from outside, so.
When it got to be huge like that, but I can only assume that we held county board in the county boardroom. Everyone was back, sitting next to each other as we're, following the CDC guidelines, wear your mask if you are not vaccinated. And then everything was set up and worked normal for the county board meeting. I'm assuming we can go back to, the smaller table setting with having room for public again. Since we started it with county board.
Well, I think it started by letting people come in and also on the phone. There's a lot of people that instead of coming in, will probably call.
Will probably be on the phone. And
Well, I would assume some people would probably feel unsafe coming in person. Maybe if we're not doing social distancing or things like that, so they might want to participate via phone.
Personally, my opinion is that our in-person, generally speaking, will still be reduced numbers. Because there are so many people that appreciate being able to call in and or not take off work, et cetera.
And more comfortable talking on the phone than standing up in front of 6 or 8 people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really advocate for the hybrid system to benefit everyone who want to come in person, that's fine. And a lot of people do. But then also for those who live or work outside of the county or any distance from here, for their benefit as well. So to me, it's a win-win for everyone.
Would we require the applicants to be in attendance, or could they be on phone?
That would be your, that's your decision if you request applicants to be in.
I know when we first started the virtual, question was asked, any applicants come in? David said no.
Everyone was right. So now when it comes back, I guess that would be a committee decision if you.
Well, I don't think we should limit the You can't say, okay, you can, publicly give your public opinion virtually by phone, but if you're an applicant, you have to come in person. Well, if we're offering it to one, then we have to offer it to everybody.
Yeah, and the other argument on that would be that the applicant has an undue advantage over someone opposing it remotely.
Yeah.
Because they're here. So that's why I raised that question before. But, well, I think it's, I think the hybrid idea, if you choose which way you want to participate, then you made the decision, we didn't compel you to the safety.
Yeah, just be like the applicant would be like the public. They choose if they want to call in or be in person.
I don't think we can, if we open it to both sections, I don't think we can limit one section of our people to having to do it a certain way.
No, we have to be as transparent and as accessible as possible. That's the single biggest.
I'm going to try it both ways, get it. See how, well, we had applications yet for next month.
Yeah, we do. We always have applications.
How many?
I think there's only 2 though, so I think it should be pretty low.
Might be the time to try it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we'll try it that way. That's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll still put the form out, just to be clear, we'll still put the form out for people to sign up, if they'd like.
We prefer them to sign up if they're gonna be in person or on the phone.
Right, and what I will have to do then is, I will, work with James to change the form.
Yep.
So that we know, if they're gonna be virtual, they'll check a box whether they'll be virtual or in person. But we'll still have everyone signed up in order, as many as do, majority. And we'll work it at the end, that might be right off the bat, then we'll find out who is here that hasn't signed up. And then we can add those right to the bottom of the list in a order. And you're not requesting that the applicant show up in person, is that correct?
They can participate either
Either
virtual
way.
or in person, their
Okay.
choice.
So Tanya, you have all those? I know it, okay. All right, just to make clear with everyone, that's what we're all on the same page?
And if we find out it doesn't work so well, we can go back to either one way or the other.
We
can change it in the future.
Sure.
Yeah, that's can be another discussion later.
We're just.
We'll try a couple meetings this way, and we'll see if it flows.
discussion.
Unless for some reason the building is closed. Because of
Another
health
outbreak.
reasons.
Right.
Well, obviously, if that happens, we'll have a new guideline put out again, it will be a must change. But for now, until further notice,
That would preempt
Try it
any
this way?
decision we would make.
right,
Okay,
okay, sounds good.
moving on, land services. Jason?
Let me get those up here real quick.
So you got the Property Information Division report, no corner work, was done last month. You got staff reports from T and Sonia. As you'll see, documents, recordings are up. Budget report is in there. As of the date I ran this report, we almost hit our revenue expectation, or budgeted revenue for the year. So unless something catastrophically stops or something right at the minute, I mean, that's gonna be up quite a bit. There's no other issues with the budget, website statistics are in there. On the GIS website with the cities that they're from. Zoning division reports, you'll see how many permits year to date. So
I understand the price of lumber is going down.
yes, it is going down. I haven't checked it lately.
I'm ready to buy a sheet of PDX for 70.
Oh, that's good, nice. It doesn't seem like it's slowed many people down. If you look at, 2021, we've already had 2 months, April and May, which were in the top 6 of all permitting months. And then you look, 01, 02, 03 were the other big years. So that was the.
Bubble rising.
Yep. So, I don't know what June will be or the coming months, but, hopefully there's not a bubble pop.
The employees working okay?
Yep, new employee started, when did she start? June 14th, I believe, yes. She started out studying, gonna start taking some tests. She's doing sewer inspections now, or observing those, and.
Now you got 2.
Yep, and Heidi's doing good, yep. Yep.
Things are getting back to normal.
Yeah. Now permits would, kind of be at the normal level. You still wouldn't feel swamped, but.
And chatting with them, we used to, the 01, 02, 03, I came along, that period, we were making double laps inspecting, like, pouts, one lap in the morning, come back in, drop off the inspected ones, grab another stack of permits, go another lap.
Yep.
It was unsustainable, we said then, and it was, but.
That's about it in there. Busy.
And is she in relation to Carrie?
She is Carrie's niece. Yeah.
Yeah, I seen the last name.
Yep.
Oh, good. Is there anything else? Well, Jason? Otherwise, future agenda items?
I think we already essentially have put on proceeding with the drafts for public hearing.
Yep. With chapter 30, public hearing. And I think we have 2 other applications.
Yes.
And then we'll have budget. That will be August as well.
Also, the county board, we're gonna have a request for an extension.
Yep, that'll be on July's county board meeting. Yep.
There's nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Pearson.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you all.